The wraiths continued to scream out loud as they danced in the air above Damien. He stands still due to his surprise at the sudden appearance of the wraiths as he holds onto the token which was unleashing a demonic aura in his hands. He looks surprised as he continues to look at the wraiths, wondering why they were here. Even Bundle was shocked to see them and asked Damien what those things were. Damien takes another look at the token of heresy, wondering what it does, as it had caused a phenomenon that even Bundle could see. Bundle exclaimed that as soon as Damien took out the token of heresy, the mood around them changed to the point that even Bundle could see it. Just as Damien was thinking to get ready for the next attack from the wraiths, something scares him as he looks forward. He sees the wraiths gathering and rushing toward him in a mad rush, which shocks him. He wonders what the hell was happening, as things had gotten weird with the wraiths. He knew that the wraiths would usually immediately attack anything alive, but it felt as if someone was pulling them deep into the swamp. Damien continues to look at the wraiths' odd behavior. He felt that something was weird, as just before he had reincarnated, he had spent quite some time in the swamp and had never seen anything like this before. In fact, there were no ghost-type monsters in the swamp at all. He found this wraith activity suspicious and knew he had to track them to the source. He summons his trusty sushi knife while telling Bundle to get ready for combat just in case. Bundle agrees and gets hyped up. With a heavy step forward, Damien began his pursuit of the wraith's odd behavior. He then recalls that Hat-san had mentioned something like this before. Damien recounts what Hat-san had told him, that adventurers who went on the expedition at that time said that they didn't die to monsters or traps. It was as if they were possessed by a ghost, and 1 or 2 people would disappear at a time, and the people who were left said they lost consciousness as if they had been drugged. With the knowledge from Hat-san, Damien figured out that that was why the Adventurers Guild did not know why the expedition had failed. Upon seeing the wraiths, Damien started to remember something that Kairon had said to him before. A memory of Kairon is brought up when he tells Damien that for this task, he needed to be extremely careful, warning him that evilness is like an anglerfish. If he couldn't swallow it, he will be swallowed by it. Kairon then tells Damien to keep what he said next in mind. He tells Damien with a serious look on his face that if he meets something he couldn't handle, run away as fast as he can. If he was even a little slow, the evil will open its jaws wide and consume him without a trace. The flashback ends as Damien continues to track the wraiths. He notes that what Kairon said seriously was no joke. He then decides to check on his items first. He sees that he has enough potions to last, but an item in his inventory started to glow. A notification appears telling him that the token of heresy was glowing. Another notification appears telling Damien that the dead's energy was reacting to the token of heresy. Damien was shocked to see that the dead's energy item went up in smoke right in front of him. He then comes to a stop, wondering where the dead's energy was going. He soon sees that the dead energy was going deeper into the swamps. After chasing after it, Damien soon reaches the Lake of Oblivion. An endless number of dead zombies were seen floating in the waters of the swamp. A female player soon appears and says found it. The player was a kunoichi called Gomwa. She scans the ground and notes that something was definitely here. She thought that it was good of her to come here as soon as she saw the broadcast, as she could still feel the bastard's energy with her hand on the ground. She sees traces of Damien's energy and notices that it hasn't even been 30 minutes since he left, and that she was sure of it. Her eyes open wide as she could definitely smell Damien's scent clearly. But fear took over her body as she recalled her memories with Damien. A flashback is shown where Damien was threatening her to shut up or it won't end nicely. He then tells her to give up everything she owns, and then he would send her off painlessly. Gomwa became more furious over recalling those memories, cursing at Damien for daring to give her such humiliation, making her unable to forgive him at any cost. She then shouts out "human" to cast a kunoichi skill. A notification window appears with the word insect just as footprints start to glow, forming a path in front of Gomwa. She sees that the footprints Damien left behind showed that he was heading northwest, which led to the deepest part of the swamp. Her hand trembles in anger as she curses Damien in her mind. "Just wait, you son of a bitch." Her eyes were filled with hatred as she screams out that she will definitely kill him this time. Damien scratches his eyes, wondering if somebody was cursing him, as he felt his ears were being itchy. As he wandered deeper into the Lake of Oblivion, Damien wondered how much longer he had to walk as he noticed that he had been walking for more than 30 minutes already. A song could be heard being played in the lake. Damien wondered what this song was. As the more he listened to it, the more sleepier he was getting. Both Bundle and Damien had a sleepy expressions on their faces as Bundle tells Damien that he was getting tired and wondered how long more they had to walk. Damien tells him to wait a second as he needed to check the mini-map. But a red notification window appears telling Damien that he couldn't see his location and to try again after exiting the current area. Damien was surprised to learn that he couldn't open his mini-map. His face was filled with a dreaded look as he knew that something was wrong. He looks around his surroundings wondering where he was right now. Damien knew that if he had walked this much, he would have been able to see the island and the lake, but it was getting darker like a forest at night. With a nervous look on his face, Damien knew that he needed to check his surroundings to get a clue on his location. Bundle then taps onto his face and pointed down. Damien then notices the flow of the water. He could see that the water was flowing in the opposite direction. He notes that if this was the way to the Lake of Oblivion, then the water should be flowing inwards, not outwards. A horrible shrieking sound catches the attention of both Bundle and Damien as they turn to see what it was. The wraiths had returned and were now floating right above Bundle and Damien. Bundle cowers in fear as he calls out to Damien. Damien tells him that he heard it too and tells Bundle to be quiet for now while opening his inventory. He then decides on using 2 items first. Damien then holds the 2 items in his hand like before. 2 notifications appear telling him that the token of heresy was glowing and that the dead's energy was reacting to the token of heresy. But all of a sudden the dead's energy started to shoot out from Damien's hand, which shocks Bundle. Damien had a happy expression on his face as he turns to see where the dead's energy was going. He grips his hand in joy as he sees that the dead's energy was going backward as compared to the flow of the water, which made his prediction correct. Damien had finally realized that he wasn't going to the Lake of Oblivion but was instead heading toward the Forest of Death. He grins widely with joy over the fact that it had been a while since he had seen this kind of skill. Damien noted that they were using some fun methods. He then tells Bundle to close his ears. Just as Bundle was asking Damien why he should be closing his ears, Damien plucks a few bits of his feathers while telling him that if he doesn't block his ears, he would soon fall asleep and fall off his shoulder. As Damien blocks his ears with the feathers of Bundles, he realizes that based on the song earlier, he notes that there wasn't enough mana for it to be barrier or hallucination magic, which meant that it must have been mental magic. Damien immediately turns around while preparing to run. He knew that mental magic was the only way to bypass his 6th sense and afflict confusion on him, which meant that the longer he hesitates here, the more dangerous it will be, so he needed to turn back immediately. As he tries to run back, the wraiths shriek and rush toward him. Damien was pissed off and told them to F off while using 2 skills at once called Flame Banquet and Decay Elixir. He manages to light the wraiths up like it was the 4th of July. The sound of the explosions sounded great to Damien as notifications pop up informing him that he had learned information about a new location and that his current location was the Lake of Oblivion. Another notification appears telling him that the world map information has been updated just as Damien manages to see something in the distance. He begins to walk slowly towards the object and removes the plugs he had placed in his ears. Damien thought about how the sounds and wraiths were slowly disappearing but wondered who the bastards were that played these tricks. A voice calls out to Damien telling him it was you. Hearing the voice shocks Damien and Bundle. Voldemort from Harry Potter appeared in the air in front of Damien, telling him about a disgusting energy that made sense once he saw Damien. The low version of Voldemort tells Damien that the body of a heretic was filled with the energy of the false god. Everything inside his body is an affront to the living gods, which was disgusting. Heretic black beast, one who should not exist. Damien was too stunned to speak as he looks up at Voldemort, wondering about the meaning behind those words and what in the hell was that thing. Damien could only stare at the Voldemort wannabe as it T-poses in the middle of the lake. Damien then gets into an attack stance, wondering what the Voldemort-looking Dementor was. Voldemort tells Damien that there was nothing left to say anymore, and that since Damien knew too much of what doesn't exist in this world. It raises the side of its body in the air, telling Damien that it was going to give him a punishment that befitted his crime. A dark shadow soon exits from Voldemort's cloak. "Regret coming here, you heretic," it says as it raises its arm in the air. The water between Damien and Voldemort started to swirl at an immense speed. Notifications soon pop up one after the other warning Damien and informing him that there was a strong mama reaction from the Lake of Oblivion. The last notification tells him that a strong monster had appeared and warns him to be careful not to die in battle, just as something started to emerge from deep within in the waters of the lake. Damien stares at the large tower of water, wondering what was coming out of it, as it had even caused the ground to shake. The water began to form a body like a snake and had a mask on its face. A notification pops up stating that it was a modified siren. Players can see sirens in the rocky areas of deep bodies of water or lakes. They call human men to the water with the sorrowful voice of a woman. Due to an unknowable power, it has changed and completely lost its original form. Its species was fairy and its type was named. Its unique trait was that it has vastly higher abilities and skills than normal sirens, so players needed to be careful while facing it. Damien was alarmed to know that what he was facing was a modified siren and wondered how such an ugly monster was a siren. Warning notification pops up while another tells Damien that the modified siren was preparing a strong attack just as a large pillar of water was seen forming up into the sky. A notification tells Damien to be careful not to die just as the modified siren unleashes four torrents of water toward Damien at fast speeds. The modified siren had used a skill called Hydro Pump. Damien sees the attack coming and quickly dodges it while cursing at the modified siren in his head. As he continued to dodge the modified siren's attacks one by one, he wonders why a powerful named monster was attacking him with such a dirty pattern. Voldemort wiggles its finger as it watches Damien dodge the modified siren's attack, telling him that although it was incomplete, this was evidence of its faith and the fruit of its research. It soon reveals its other arm, telling Damien that getting rid of someone like him was nothing. Damien turns to see that Voldemort had revealed his other arm, causing him to wonder what it was going to do next. He recalls briefly that Voldemort had not attacked him since earlier, and had instead stayed in the same place and just moved his body in two arms. Not to mention when it moves its finger bones, the color of the mana in the air slightly changes. Every time the modified siren's movements also change. Based on what he saw, Damien concluded that the modified siren was not an independent entity but was instead being manipulated by using a type of spell or sorcery. Damien wonders if that was what it meant by being incomplete. He looks back at the modified siren, thinking that even by knowing that information, it didn't mean that he could face a monster whose level could not be measured. However, its mana was getting stronger, which meant that Damien needed to do something. Damien decides to stop dodging and stood still, looking at the modified siren being manipulated, meaning that his only hope was to sever that. He bends over to activate his skills: Bloody Impulse, Decay Elixir, Dark Green Blessing, Flame Banquet. The modified siren unleashes another attack of the Hydro Pump toward Damien, which gave him an opportunity as he dodges the attack. 35 degrees, 22 degrees, 47 degrees, 81 degrees. As Damien continued to dodge its attacks, he could finally see the angle of the unsophisticated water cannon now. He smiles at the thrill of this fight, as the thrill of not knowing when he was going to die was the reason he couldn't stop playing. He then takes a heavy step onto the ground, lunging himself forward with great speed, telling the modified siren gotcha. Damien had managed to leap onto the modified siren's body and into the air, catching it off guard by surprise. He then uses his skill Flame Banquet while combining it with 22 decay elixirs in his hand. He throws it directly in the modified siren's face, which causes a large explosion in its face. The modified siren's mask broke into multiple pieces due to Damien's attack. Notifications pop up informing Damien that the modified siren's defenses have been corroded and have a status effect due to it being in a state of burning. Damien bounces on the pieces of the broken mask with ease while being glad that his attack had worked on it. Another notification window informs him that the modified siren's stamina had been falling drastically. Damien now knew that he has to attack the main body, but something catches him off guard as well as Bundle. He sees that the modified siren's face was recovering almost immediately, meaning that Damien had to use another method. He instantly shouts out Bundle's name, which he immediately understood, causing him to jump off Damien's shoulder. While Bundle was in the air, he grabbed the attention of the modified siren and Voldemort. Damien thought that it was nice that the aggro was working now. Voldemort attempted to tell Damien that it was useless, but Bundle's chirping noise grabs its attention. As Bundle was still high up in the air, he points down to a massive number of his siblings that were near the lake. Damien could be seen on the shore of the lake surrounded by Bundle's siblings. He tells Voldemort to see if it was really useless once he had gotten hit, as he assures it that this attack was going to hurt a lot. He raises both of his arms in the air and started to cast Flame Banquet 125 times. A bunch of Bundle's siblings could be seen holding onto a blow dart while their bodies were covered in flames. They all chirped together at once and unleashed a wave of blow darts toward the modified siren. Their attacks land onto the modified siren with ease as pieces of its body and mask started to disappear. Bundle dodges their attacks while shouting at them to keep shooting. Voldemort began to wonder what was that just as Damien is seen rushing towards it with his trusty sushi knife in hand. "Where are you looking?" said Damien, which grabs the attention of Voldemort as it turns to see. Damien had appeared right in front of it with his arm raised high in the air with his sushi knife. The sushi knife soon lands right on top of Voldemort's mask, causing it to form a crack. But there was a problem, as Damien's face was filled with disbelief. He wonders what was beneath the mask, because no matter how hard he tried to push the knife in, it wasn't going in at all. "Leave," said Voldemort as his cloak began to form weird shapes. Damien immediately jumps away from it just as black shadowy tentacles came out of Voldemort's cloak. He slices at the tentacles that were trying to attack him, as he didn't expect to see those things here. Damien retreats back to the shore, surprised by the fact that Voldemort had protective measures on his actual body as well, but he soon spots something else that was happening. A warning notification pops up while another informs him that the modified siren was recovering its body. Pieces of its mask and body soon recovered, as another notification appears telling Damien to get rid of the modified siren before it completely recovers its body. Damien could only stare at it while it recovers and thought that it was way stronger than he had expected. Looking at the flames being gone from his hand, Damien knew that he had used up all of his flame lizard bracelets, thinking that he was going to finish everything in one go, but without the flame lizard bracelet now Damien wondered how he was going to physically damage the modified siren. Voldemort soon reaches out towards Damien with its creepy claw hands, asking him if this was his last struggle. Voldemort and its pet modified siren were soon fully recovered as they stand face to face with Damien and Bundle's siblings. A blue aura began to spread all around as Damien stares at the modified siren, knowing that it was almost completely recovered and that based on the quantity of mana, it was enough to cover the entire lake. The modified siren soon opens its mouth, but instead of water coming out, it started to speak out loud, saying "ah." Seeing this reaction made Damien realize something. He quickly turns away from the modified siren with his hands covering his ears. He shouts at Bundle's sibling to quickly cover their ears. The modified siren's voice and mana could be seen spreading all around the Lake of Oblivion. Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.